Okay, hi everyone. Nice to see you come out in such big numbers tonight. I will present some research I did on Chinese development finance towards Africa in the context of Professor Danny Hua's class. This class was called Redesigning Models of Global Power Relations, and we looked at how the rise of China is impacting international relations and the international financial architecture. Okay, do you guys know these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so for those who don't, basically they run a show on Discovery Channel using the scientific method to test the validity of some rumors, some myths, some movie scenes, news stories, etc. So as you have probably guessed by now, this is what we're going to do tonight in this presentation. We're going to look at a couple myths on Chinese development finance and see if they're true. So here we go with the first myth. In the past 10 years, China has been increasing its presence in Africa. And what has been the reaction to this presence? In the media, as you can see, China is portrayed as an evil-like actor who's giving money to African countries only to further its own interests. These interests are the exploitation of resources, increasing trade, and gaining allies to support it at the United Nations. According to this rhetoric, the Chinese give aid to corrupt and impotent governments, and this has negative effects on African countries' development. The Obama administration was very critical of Chinese finance towards Africa, calling it a form of neo-colonialism. So okay, we're hearing this story. Now let's take a look at what is really going on here. When we hear this conventional wisdom, it talks about foreign aid. But what is foreign aid? So, according to the official definition, foreign aid constitutes a grant. So it must have at least a 25% grant element. A grant means a gift. So for instance, if I give $100 to Maskahi with a 25% grant element, I'm expecting to get $75 back or less. If we look at what China has spent in development finance in Africa, in the years 2010 to 2012, we see that only 36% constitutes grants. The rest are loans, and although some are concessional, they don't fit the 25% criteria. So we should not mistake the forest for the tree here. The lesson here is that before passing judgment on China, we need to look at the correct portion of its financial transactions that really constitute foreign aid, to compare apples with apples, rather than apples and dragon fruits, as some scholars have put it. These scholars have looked at the fraction of Chinese finance that really constitutes foreign aid and compared it to Western donors' aid. What they found is that Chinese aid is not more politically motivated or resource motivated than Western countries. In fact, the most important determinant of Chinese aid is the One China policy. So in Africa, there are like only 3 countries who recognize Taiwan, and these don't receive foreign aid. All of this says, China gives a lot of different types of finance, and we should compare apples with apples. It seems that when we're looking at the right thing, China's aid is not more selfish than Western donors. So the first myth, oh no! I haven't been. I thought this was not done. Great. This is like one of the major highlights of this presentation. So okay, the second myth we're going to look at is the competition between China and the US in Africa. According to this myth, Africa is like the board of a game of chess where the US and China are competing. To illustrate this, during his transition, Donald Trump asked the State Department a couple questions about Africa. He asked, how does US business compete to other countries in Africa? And are we losing out to the Chinese? Well, when we look at the data, we see that, in fact, China and America are not even in the same sectors when it comes to their development programs. 70% of Chinese aid goes to infrastructure, while 70% of American aid goes to health programs. Here you can see that their top priorities differ, but even if you go down to their lowest priorities, they're not even in the same sector. If we look at another type of financial transaction, foreign direct investment, or FDI, it seems that China has very different priorities in terms of recipient countries. Except for Nigeria and South Africa, China, which is in orange here, is investing in totally different countries than the US, but also than Europe and Japan. So it seems that there's no competition between China and the rest, but rather complementarity, which is also very good news for Africa, who's getting different types of funds from different types of countries in different sectors. So myth number 2 is also false. So after this myth-busting exercise, you're probably asking yourself, why are we hearing all these things from both the media and policymakers that probably know what they're talking about, if it's not true? Well, here are some ideas. Historically, international relations has been a very Western-dominated sector of academia. You can see some very important thinkers here. So Machiavelli, Morgenthau, and Mersheim. These guys are part of a school of thought named realism, where countries are seen as self-interesting, always competing against one another, and prone to war. Realism has been very dominant in policymaking, especially in the US. So this explains why China is seen as a menacing competitor with intentions to undermine American presence in Africa. We should also not forget that this takes place at a moment where China is rising and the American power is declining. So instead, perhaps the West needs to change its realist glasses. In IR lingo, the current perspective could be described as zero-sum. If China wins, America loses. But instead, what the empirical studies I have told you about today show us is that maybe no one loses. No one loses, even though both countries invest in Africa. And the question is also, does Africa win from this type of intervention? So to conclude, this is some of the type of research we do here at the school. And ultimately, social science does these types of things, such as debunking some myths, going above things I saw on the internet, or someone tweeted about this. Yes, I'm talking about Donald Trump. Fact-checking is really important right now, more than ever, and I hope that some of you guys here in the audience will take up the challenge of pursuing on this line of social science research, and perhaps working on some areas that are critical in light of this presentation. So, working on the Chinese and African side of the story, and also in increasing our understanding of the data. Thank you.